won't you look down over me?
So you're saying I can ask this cat any question?
The cat is connected to the computer. You just type in the question, it will read his mind. There the answer comes.
You're the man! I've been looking for this for weeks.
Well, hello out there to everybody. Oh, got some feedback. Already problems. Hey, today is October the 6th. It's Tuesday night, time for Amateur Radio Roundtable. We meet every Tuesday night at 8 o'clock Central Time. And for all you international guys, it's 0100 UTC on Wednesdays. We got a good show for you tonight. We've got Riley Hollingsworth with us. He's going to answer questions that you sent in over the last couple weeks. Riley's a regular on our program and a very busy man, but when he's available, we try to get him on a show about every 2 weeks, if possible. So we're going to have Riley on here for a little while, and then after that, we're going to have an update from DARA about all the Hamvention rumors that are going around in a newspaper and on the TV and everywhere. So that'll be interesting. And then I got some videos that our viewers sent in about stealth antennas from our show from last week. And you're going to see people running little 3-foot antennas working DX like in Germany. So that's going to be some interesting videos. I'd like to ask everybody, please join us on Facebook. The Facebook group is W5KUB.com, and that'll give you more information about our show and what's going on. And also, it's just a ham radio site. Post pictures of your shack and of your mobile and all that stuff, and use it to just do ham radio. And also follow us on Twitter. We're trying to get geared up on Twitter and at W5KUB, and we really need your help to get the word out to other hams around the country. So if you can tweet the show is starting at W5KUB.com, we'd greatly appreciate that. So let's jump right into our show. We've got a segment called Ask Riley, and we have a special email address. If you want to send questions into Riley, the email address is, and I think I can put it up here. The email address is askriley@w5kub.com, and Riley will see that, and he'll try to get you an answer. Some of these questions, Riley will contact you personally and answer the question maybe by telephone, but I think he's got a few tonight that we're going to talk about on the webcast. So we're going to jump over to, and everybody, here's Riley. And Riley, you're over in on the East Coast somewhere. Where are you?
Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, Tom.
All right. Well, Riley, what do you got in the mailbag tonight? You got any specific ones you want to talk about first?
Well, I got 2 or 3. First, Tom, it's good to see you and Michael. It's good to you. I haven't seen you since Dayton several years ago. It's good to be on a program with you. I'll take one from NJ5G, Patrick, first. And his question is, why is FCC enforcement with regard to intentional interference so lax as to not constitute a credible threat to violators, especially through the lack of actually collecting fines and confiscating equipment? We read press releases with fanfare touting the actions taken by the FCC, but in general, the reasonable fines are not collected. Well, let me correct you on that. The fines are collected. The fines are not canceled because of lack of ability to pay. They're reduced. It's the same way with a lawsuit or an Internal Revenue Service lien or anything else. If the assets are not there, then you're just wasting your time going against the actual amount. You have to adjust it so that it can be paid. But the important thing to remember is that the Department of Justice, when they get a collection order, can put a lien on your house for the forfeiture. They can seize your tax refund if you're due a tax refund in any year to pay for the forfeiture. So these fines are collected. They're called forfeitures in the Communications Act, but they're fines just like anytime a government authority tells you you owe them money, you can call it anything you want to, but it's actually a fine. But they are collected, and once that collection order is issued, then you will have to pay it in some fashion. And like I say, there have been cases of liens being put on people's houses and so forth. So they're adjusted so that they will be fair, because there's no sense to go after a $30,000 fine when there's $20,000 worth of assets in existence. It just isn't going to happen. But the main thing is, don't put yourself in that position. If you watch the FCC's enforcement actions, the forfeitures are huge. You've seen a couple of fines in excess of $20,000 in the amateur service lately. And if you watch the Daily Digest, you'll see fines against certain companies in the hundreds of thousands of dollars. So it's just best not to go down that road. But they are collected eventually. It's a time-consuming process, but they are collected. We also got a question from AC8S. Actually, it's a two-pronged question. One is, I'm thinking about joining the Amateur Auxiliary, but how do I do that? Well, the Amateur Auxiliary, that's the official observer program. It's not run by the FCC. It's run by the American Radio Relay League. And the best thing to do is contact them, particularly Chuck Skoloff or Dan Henderson at the ARRL, and ask how you can get in that program, and if they need anybody in your area, and how you can go through the training and test and so forth. The second part of this question from AC8S is thinking about submitting a proposed rule to the FCC requiring a power limit for non-emergency communications at 200 watts. Well, if you look through the Commission's rules, you'll see particular guidelines on filing petitions for rulemaking. And it has to be well thought out. You have to make sure that you're not duplicating a recent rulemaking order or petition for rulemaking. And you file it, and if it looks like that it has merit, you'll get a number, and they'll start a rulemaking process. If not, it will be dismissed, and you'll be given the reason why. But the main thing is, if you're going to submit a proposal for rulemaking, to make sure you've done your homework and that it's well thought out, and that you're not duplicating other proposals that have come in, because then you're just wasting your time and the Commission's time. So it's an easy process to file such a petition, but it's not easy to research it and do all the homework that you need to have a successful one come out of all the processes there. A couple other questions I got I answered by email, and I also got one regarding the 5.8 gigahertz and the 2.4 gigahertz areas. I'll answer that by email or put them in touch with somebody who can. And I think that covers what I've gotten so far in this mailbox, at least as of yesterday, anyway.
Okay, Ronnie, there was a question on here. What does the FCC do with the funds once they're collected?
Well, they're not the FCC's funds. The funds go into the general fund of the U.S. Treasury, so that Congress can use it as they see fit, or waste it as they see fit, whatever. But these monies do not come back to the Commission's budget. It goes into the general fund.
Now, the FCC doesn't actually collect it. Don't you guys turn that over to the Justice Department for prosecution or something like that?
Well, if the FCC isn't paid after it issues the forfeiture notice, if it isn't paid within a certain amount of time, then it's turned over to the Department of Justice. They go through collection proceedings, and once they get a collection order, then you get into some real serious business here, as far as I mentioned earlier about the liens and so forth. But the important thing is, as of a few years ago, there's a new rule called the red light rule. And if you owe the Commission money, you cannot get an application grant. So if you owe a good size forfeiture and your renewal is coming up and there's a collection order issued, the commission by law cannot renew your license. So it's a little different than it used to be 5 or 10 years ago.
Okay. Well, I've got a question for you. And I think this came in an email. Maybe you were wanting to answer it later, but I've got a reason for asking it, and I'll tell you what it is. But the question that came in here was from talking about Malaysian hams and how they were getting U.S. licenses. And when they were asked how they're getting the licenses, they just said the FCC regulations only required them to have a U.S. address. Do you know if that's correct or not?
Well, actually, if they have a valid U.S. address, they can get a license. Now, why the rules are that way, I don't know. It was part of an amateur rulemaking proceeding years ago. But I'll give you an example. There's a fellow, I think, down in Georgia somewhere that had a good friend in Italy who was a licensee. The Italian wanted to get an amateur license, U.S. license. So he used the friend's address, took the test, and got the license. That's fine. The rules say that if you have a valid United States address, you can take the exam and get a U.S. license. Problem is about 20 or 30 other Italian licensees came through using his address that he knew nothing about. Now, those licenses will be canceled. But if the Malaysians or anybody else has a valid U.S. address, that is an address where somebody will watch the mail for them and forward an email, then they can take the test through the volunteer examiner system and get a U.S. license. It sounds a little strange, and I don't know that any other country does that, but that's the way our rules are written at the present time.
Well, I was reading that to think that they didn't even have to, that they didn't have to take a test. But you know, I guess this is where I was leading to this. One of my friends here that many of you guys know is on our show and helps. Freddie Diaz is from Venezuela, and Freddie holds a valid ham call in Venezuela. But we brought him to the United States to work here, and he is now a U.S. citizen, so he has dual citizenship. So with dual citizenship, can he operate here using the reciprocal agreement from that we have maybe with Venezuela, or would he have to get a license, Riley?
If he's living here?
Yeah, dual citizenship. So I guess he maybe lives both places, you know.
I don't know how the dual citizenship would work. I haven't had that question before.
So if he's living here, then you're saying that he needs to, he probably needs to get take the test to get a U.S. ham call?
I'm not saying that, but he needs to ask the question.
Okay.
I can find out the answer for you. I don't know it offhand.
Okay. Let's see if there's any questions real quick in the chat room there. I know 3 or 4 more questions had come in, Riley, and you'll probably save those for next week or the next time you're on here. Let's see if anybody in the chat room has any quick question for you. So here's your chance to ask Riley. I think he has something, and Riley's going to run in a few minutes. So here's our chance to hold him for a couple more minutes. Okay, well, I don't see any other questions coming in. Riley, we really appreciate you being on the show with us tonight and taking your time. I know you're busy. You seem to be traveling a lot, and that's why it's hard to get you on here at least every other week. But whenever you're in town and have time, just let me know, and we're gonna shoot to have you on here regularly. And it looks like the mailbox, Ask Riley, is starting to pick up. So some of the things are coming in there. Thanks, Riley, and I guess I'll say 73 to you.
Okay, and I will get back to you, Tom, on the dual citizenship issue.
Okay.
With a West friend.
Sounds good. Thank you, Ronnie.
Thank you. See you, Tom. See you, Michael.
Okay.
All right.
All right. So there was a segment on Ask Riley we had. Again, we need you to send in your questions if you have questions that you'd like to ask Riley. And let's see. Michael, you there?
I'm right here.
Okay, hold on one second. I'm not seeing your picture now, Michael. I don't know what's
They
wrong.
aren't missing much. I don't know. It should
Okay.
still be coming up.
Yeah. We'll give it just a second and see what happens here. All right. Hey, I think Joe Eisenberg, K0 NEB, is in the chat room tonight. He's also one of our guys, our regulars on here that answers questions and shows tips, and he's going to be doing a lot of Hamfest reporting with all the pictures and all the Hamfest he visits. He's going to be bringing that to us. So Joe is in the Joe's in the conference room. I'm trying to do three things here. Joe's in the chat room, so I know you guys are chatting with Joe there. All right, Michael. This is going to be interesting. Let's see what we got here. Let me bring Michael in. You can see we don't have Michael's picture. We've got a still picture of you, Michael.
Yeah, I wonder what happened to me.
I don't know.
You had it a little bit ago.
Let's do this. Hey, I want to see the DARA banner and sign behind you. So let me call you back, and I'm gonna put you on a call again. Okay?
Okay.
All right, here we go. Now all I have to do is find him. Oh boy. I'll have, there he is right there.
Hey, think you got me now?
I think I have. Let me do a couple things here to set it up. All right. A little fuzzy, but we're going to try to make do with this. So let me...
that's too bad. It was so good before.
It was good a minute ago. It'll clear up here in a minute. You know, it's amazing. It's amazing some of the things that happen on the internet. You know, I know you have a good line here, and we've got supposed to be a good line here. We've got almost 100 megs down and about 15 up. So it shouldn't be doing that. Now you're clear. You see, you're cleared up. I don't know. So, guys, you know, there's been a lot of rumors going around. Man, I was just looking, and I called Michael and invited him to be on the show. There are articles in the newspaper. There are articles on WHIO TV, QRZ.com, everywhere, and everybody is just kind of panicking and running, and they're worried, and they have their own opinions on what's going to happen. And man, this is a big thing, Michael. People are almost getting in fights on some of these Facebook groups saying what you guys should do. Now, first of all, I think you guys are going to do what you want to do because it is owned by DARA. So let's talk about that. So you want to just give me a little background on what's going on, and we'll take it from there.
Well, it seems like every year we have this same thing, and that is that Hamvention Hera's not going to make it. This will be the last Hamvention. You know, they've got problems, and let me just tell you right off the bat that we are fully planning on having Hamvention 2016 at Hera Arena. We don't see that changing. We're in contact with those folks all the time. We get barraged with the same things: emails, phone calls. You know, the press is chasing us around because Hamvention means a lot of money actually for the Dayton region, and they speculate, gosh, what will happen? Where will DARA go if Hera closes? And right now, I can tell you that Hera has producers and people working with them, and they got a fairly full schedule. right up, I know, past Hamvention, and they're going to publicize that, and we're going to try to get that out. Financially, of course, our club is doing just fine, and we are, like I say, in constant contact with the owners of Hera Arena, and they're great people. And I would just like to say that we are going to have Hamvention at Hera Arena 2016.
Now, that surely can't go on forever. Maybe there will be improvements, and you guys will stay many more years. But there was a artist drawing at one point that hit the news out there and said, "This is what the new Hera Arena is going to look like." And I think a lot of people thought that someone had taken on the responsibility to redesign it and start work on it. Do you know anything about that picture I'm talking about?
Yeah, I do know about that picture. Hera, the owners of Hera have been working with the city of Trotwood, and Trotwood is actually where Hamvention takes place. And they've been working with them, and it looked like they were going to get money to make some major upgrades, because it's an important place for a lot of events, and there's no other place as big or that we know of in the region. And that money did not come through at the last minute after the Hamvention. I believe there was some upheaval and people quit the board or whatever, and that money did not come through. So that speculation then came, well, now without that money, Hera's not going to be able to stay open. And that's not true.
Do they have other events during the year there, or is it just Hamvention?
No. If they just had Hamvention, they would go under. Yeah, they have events every weekend. They had, I know last weekend, I don't remember the name of the event, but they had a big event there. It was advertised on television, and they have events there regularly. They have a hockey team that that big ball arena where they have all the seats. That actually, they have ice hockey in there. So I don't know if many people probably don't know that. I want to talk a little bit about some of the history, if I may. Can I do that?
Sure, go ahead.
It's interesting. I get a lot of gee whiz. They're really going down the tubes. They look bad, and certainly they need repair. And we would love to have those repairs made and upgrades. But I will tell you, they work very hard to try to make things right. I mean, a lot of the complaints have been restrooms, and they basically keep people stationed at each of the restrooms now. They're trying to do that to keep them as clean and neat as they can, holding a pretty big crowd. But let me back up a bit. Back in the early to mid 2000s, Dayton Amateur Radio Association used we hired somebody to run the event for us. They would be the go-between. Well, it turned out that person was stealing money, embezzling money, and they were mixing funds. So we took himself and his company to court. We ended up in one of those years. I think it was 2005, maybe. We had no money in the bank, maybe $700, and we had to put on a Hamvention next year. We still owed everybody in Dayton. We owed Hera Arena. We owed the RTA buses. We owed so many other people. So the next year we went around and we told all these people what was going on, including Hera Arena, because they were a real linchpin in this, and they could have said, "No, we can't give you any. You're not paying us, so you're not going to have a Hamvention." They didn't do that, and they let it go. They said, "Okay, we stand behind you," and I thought that was a very gracious thing that they did. Since that time, and from that time, we took it over as volunteers, everywhere from the general chairman down. Nobody gets paid. We just have different volunteer activities that we perform, and we were able to quickly pay all that money back. Not only did we get that money paid back, and we were able to have. Sorry about that. I'm in a I'm in the clubhouse here at DARA, and I'm the only one here. And if I don't move around more, the lights go out. So anyway, we paid back all the debt that we had, and was able to build this really nice clubhouse where we have training, and we do the Teachers Institute here. We do a lot of different things, and we have a very nice van, emergency van. But beyond that, we give out thousands and thousands of dollars in donations toward amateur radio. Many scholarships. We help a lot of organizations. Sometimes I'll give you an example. Our local weather bureau in Wilmington, Ohio, covers 53 counties, and that includes probably more than half of Ohio, eastern Indiana, northern Kentucky, and I went down there. I don't live far from there, and so I volunteered, and I'm a net control operator with the weather bureau itself. That's very fascinating to do. But I realized that their equipment was old and outdated. So we put together a plan and brought it forth to the board, and we've been able to upgrade the Wilmington weather station, and the Weather Bureau is absolutely thrilled at that. And in this part of the country, we get some very serious storms that come up in the spring and even in the fall. Another project we have going on, we have a big Veterans Administration here, and we are donating, we're putting up a tower, a really beautiful HF station, and that is underway right now, and we've donated a significant funds for that. So, what we try to do as volunteers, we can take that money that we make and we turn it back in amateur radio and support amateur radio as best that we can. We even have a grant system. DARA, is DARA and Hamvention going to move? Not right now. I mean, we don't want to. And then you would also ask the question, well, what if they would close? Do you have contingency plans and ideas? Absolutely. We have ideas, and I'm not at liberty to say that right now. But right now we're not planning on doing that. But we have to work on contingencies to be sure that we perpetuate Hamvention. We think it's important to the community.
Well, I surely with something as large as Hamvention, you've got to have contingency plans. Like you were mentioning, I mean, hey, 2 weeks before Hamvention, a tornado could take Hara Arena off the map there. So you got to have them. Now, here's a question that a lot of people, and they get very hot and heated discussions here. Why don't you, we have plenty of room up here in New Jersey. Let's do it up in New Jersey, or let's do it out in Phoenix, or let's do it down in Dallas. So this is the DARA Amateur Radio Association's Ham Club. Do you want to tell anybody your thoughts about having it in New York or Texas or Arizona?
Yeah, we get approached to places in other states, but here's the dilemma. We have, I don't know, nearly 400 volunteers that work with this, and we'd have to get all new volunteers, and they wouldn't be probably DARA members. It's a very unbelievable undertaking. I mean, it's huge, and we have it down to an art. Not saying we couldn't move it and do that, but what's important to keep in mind is it's our club, and our club is actually, although we have, I think around 1,000 members, and members all over the world, and people come in from all over the world to help us. Right now we couldn't feasibly do that very easily.
Well, that's a good point you make. You have people all over the world that are members. I live 500 miles away, and I'm actually a member of the Dayton Amateur Radio Association. I get your RF Carrier newsletter.
Good. Excellent.
Yeah. So, I would think that DARA probably might never really want to move it down to my hometown area of Memphis, Tennessee. I mean, it'd be tough on those 400 people there that are members to come down here and make it work and volunteer. So I think logistically it would just be a nightmare to try to do that. maybe if somebody wants to have it somewhere else, they start their own Hamfest up, right?
Well, there's a lot of great Hamfests in the region. Orlando, Huntsville, just to name a few. I know Fort Wayne's coming up. They have some great ones all over the world. Friedrichshafen, Tokyo, and we had a contingency go over there to Tokyo this year, as well as we did Friedrichshafen, and it's more of a goodwill trip. We see our role in amateur radio as supporting amateur radio the best we can. And I've talked to other leaders of the Hamfest, and none of them we don't see each other as competition. We see each other as support. How can we learn from each other? And I think that's an important thing. But you're right. How do I move all these volunteers down somewhere or some other part of the country? And then it will be just very, very difficult at this point. But for right now, we are working on, what are the contingencies? What else could we do? And we know we pretty much have it outlined of our needs as far as the size of location. And, we're not at liberty to say, we're not really looking to have to do that, but we always have some things in our back pocket as any business would.
Can you, and this may be confidential, but you're the CFO. Can you tell me approximately how much money it costs to put on an event this size?
Actually, I would rather not say. It is very expensive, and I'd rather not say.
Okay. All right. Well, it's probably over $100. I mean, hey, you guys did it with $700 a bank, so it can't cost too much, can it?
Well, that was $700 and lots of promises that we fulfilled. But it's we were very fortunate. The community stood behind us. Hair Arena stood behind us. So as we hear these rumors, we have a hard time forgetting that they helped us once. I mean, when we were really down, community came to our rescue and helped us. So that's another thing we actually keep in mind. But if worst comes to worst, of course, we'll have to do something different.
Well, I tell you, there's a lot of people probably like me. I've gone 35 consecutive years. It's a long ways up there, but it's something that we like to do and want to do. We spend a lot of money, going up there, but it's our choice, and we always have a great time. It's like I don't know how to describe it. It's just an exciting trip. We plan it months and months ahead of time, and we don't think. I personally don't think too much about the facility. Could it have better paint? Could some of the ceiling tiles be fixed? Yes, but I don't notice those type things when I go. Hopefully, you've got some safety people there that are ensuring that the parts of the building are safe for occupancy, but I don't really go that much for the cosmetics. I hear a lot of complaints about the parking lot. They need to pave the parking lot. Well, I'll tell you, when you put those tents up out there and you need to put that little stake in the ground to hold that tent down, sometimes a cracked up parking lot is what you need instead of a brand new asphalted parking lot. What's your thoughts about the parking lot out there? And hey, I used to love the outside flea market.
Well, Tom, I agree with you. I would love to see that paved. We worry about that every year. It is degrading quite a bit. However, it is right now what it is. I mean, the flea market is huge, and I love the flea market, and I'm sure a lot of people do. One of the things that you touched on that I wanted to add on to, you talked about you've gone to Hamvention many years, and it's always been an experience for you. I get emails from people, I'll never come back again, it was horrible. Or I get emails that say, you know what, great job for volunteers, that was really wonderful, I had fun. And most of the vendors are usually, we don't make everybody happy, we certainly try, but there are frustrating points. And even our vendors who come, they usually mean, if they have a good product, they're usually just knocking down the walls with how well they do. And but you know, when you think about Hamvention, if you don't have some kind of event or some kind of thing to talk about at Hamvention, maybe you weren't there. If you don't have a good story, maybe you're not there. You know, I know. I think Joe Eisenberger's in the
He's in the chat room.
Yeah, he's in the chat room, and you know he's come to Hamvention for many years. And Riley's come, and by the way, it was great to be on with Riley tonight. I hadn't seen him in a long time, and it was what a gentleman, you know, to still be giving back to amateur radio. But you know, and I was mentioning about Joe. He makes these great videos year after year, and has a theme about Hamvention. I mean, his heart is completely into it, and so many people, their hearts are completely into it. And you know, when you go so many years, you know, people get older, hair is getting older. You know, would we like to freshen it up? Absolutely. But you know, I'm just asking people to hang with us, and we're trying to do the best we can, because you know, Hamvention is really a great event. It's so much fun. If you really look at it and you really plan your time out, there's just so much to do, and it is so much fun, in my opinion.
Well, and I agree with that. And just like in our case, when we do the webcast, we've been doing the webcast now for probably about 13 or 14 years up there, and you know, we work constantly when we're there. And since we've been doing it, I haven't had time to walk around out in the flea market, and you know, I'll come home many years and not spend 25 cents. That's how intense the webcast gets at times. But you know, our purpose is just to try to get Hamvention out to the people that can't go. The 12-year-olds, the 13, 14-year-olds that, you know, they don't have a way to get up here. Their parents aren't hams, or people that are sick or can't travel or don't have the money, distance too far. That's the reason we do it, and we try to make the ham experience. We try to give them the ham fest experience, just like they were there. So we've been, I think, very lucky that we've had a lot of viewers. I think last count we had about 150 countries that have actually joined us on the Hamvention webcast.
Yeah, you do a great service there, and I remember the first times I interviewed with you years ago out in the flea market, and I remember one time you interviewed myself and the gentleman that is the general chairman of the Huntsville event.
Yeah, Charlie.
And you know, Charlie, and you just had a pop-up tent out there that you put up, and now I really am glad that you're inside and you're doing so well with it. And like you, people see me at Hamvention. I'm usually always on a mission, running from here, running to there, and I can't stop it.
All right, you said you can't stop
Totally.
it. Your eyes closed and you froze. But the connection has been pretty good tonight. You're back with us. I thought you went to sleep on me.
I might have. You know, that's my nature.
Uh-huh.
One of the things that we might want to do sometime, Tom, is maybe we could set up and take a lot of questions from people, you know, ahead of time, like you do with Riley. I was thinking that might be an interesting thing to do, is to allow people to, send in some questions and comments. And
okay, here's a question: how can people join DARA?
And about Hamvention.
How can they join DARA? They want to know.
Whoop! I went black there. That lights went out.
You guys are high tech there, man. You're saving money on electricity. So how can how can our viewers join DARA?
All they need to do is go to the website, Dayton Amateur Radio Association. Just Google it and get on there, and there's a form. Send in $10 and with the right information.
Yeah, that's what I did. It was really simple, and hey, for $10, man, the newsletter's worth that.
You know, we have members all over the world, and the interesting thing about Hamvention is people come in from all over the world, and you know, you and I were on with our friends from India when they went into Nepal, and I was fortunate to stay in contact with them while they were in Nepal. And the exciting thing is they're members of the Dayton Amateur Radio Association, and they try to send a contingency over there, that the National Institute of Amateur Radio. You know, I get calls from people regularly all over the world, just wanting to know about Hamvention, and hey, Michael, what's happening this year? What's exciting, and where's a good place to stay? Those kind of things. But you know, that's the great thing about Hamvention. You make friends, and if you go there to Hamvention, you know, it's really, really great to meet people and to make friends, I think.
Yeah, and you're talking about Mr. Siri and the people that were with him. We had him on our show several times, and that's a great organization there in India. Hey, you know, back to Hamvention. We've been coming 35 years, and we've really seen a lot of changes over that 35 years. It seems like different people managed it, you know, of course, you know, for a few years, and then they turn it over to somebody else and manage it for a few years and so forth. And it wasn't so friendly a few times in the past 35 years, but I've noticed that it's become much user friendly now, and you guys try to make it easy on people. And I know a lot of things are probably caused by legal conditions or rent of the building. For instance, I remember one year, and it must have been, this is probably 20 years ago, we were parked outside the fence. There was 1,000 cars parked out there, and we were waiting to get in. Now, back then, you didn't have a spot number. They just sent you through the gate, and they would flag you down and tell you where to park. I don't know if you remember. You probably remember that. And, you know, we were sitting out there. We were there at 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, but they wouldn't open the gate till midnight. I guess that's the date you guys probably started paying for the parking lot and had insurance and all that. So you know, it was a really nice evening, you know, and we're sitting there, and as we, you know, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, the clouds start coming in. 11 o'clock, it starts getting really bad. Man, when they open the gates, the rain and the lightning was hitting everywhere, and it was the biggest scramble you ever saw to get in out there. So I kind of like the way you guys are doing it now. It takes away a lot of that pressure.
Yeah, there is a lot of tension when you travel from one part of the country and come here. Even if you're flying in and you're trying to figure out and negotiate, well, how do I deal with this great big event? It can be a little bit daunting, I'm sure, because when I go other parts of the world or other events, I like to got an excellent talk-in system, and we try to have you know, good information on our website and how to get in and places to stay. And we've spent a lot of time trying to do that. And we're in the stages right now making sure that our websites are upgraded and getting all that information out early.
Yeah.
Well, but thanks for the compliment.
Let's do one thing. Let's recap real quick your answer about all the rumors. Let's recap that, and then I want to move on to something else that you're doing, and we'll take just a few minutes on that. So, if you had to narrow this down to 100 words or less, what's your message to everybody that tuned in tonight about moving versus not moving?
It's simple. For 2016, we're not moving. It's right at Hera Arena, and I don't know how these rumors continually get started. I think I do. You know, I mean, they get things happen in the newspaper, get out on the internet, and one thing leads to another. And but I was so grateful that you called me and said, "Hey, come on the show." But in 120 words or less, we're not going anywhere.
Yeah, here's a comment. Remember the flea market being a lot larger? It was larger, 15 years ago. I've noticed it shrunk a little bit, but I also have noticed that the last year or two, your numbers are starting to come back up a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. They're coming up a lot. I think they. I think that the numbers kind of follow the sunspot cycle to some degree.
Yeah, it might
maybe
be.
not. but I've not done that correlation. But I've noticed that the flea market is dwindling down a little bit too. But you know, the flea market is still daunting to get through that thing.
It is, and I tell you, I'm so glad that you now have squashed all the rumors, and we know we're going to be there again next year. We already have our hotel reservations, and we're ready to head up that way. So let's see. Question. They want to know if DARA can post information on the website about the current situation. Do you think that's something you guys would consider doing?
Yeah, unfortunately, Jim Teeterman, our general chairman, Hamvention this year, was going to show up. And I needed to answer one more question about people running the event as well. But I will mention that to him. I'm sure he's home watching it, really wishing that he would be here tonight, because he was planning on it. He's a good man. He's a good leader, and I enjoy working with him. But I did want to mention we do change leadership every 2 years, and as far as the general chairman, we only allow a person to be a general chairman for 2 years, and then they move on and somebody else runs it. And that adds a freshness to it, and general chairman and on lots of different committees, and we just don't go away. Did you get that?
Yeah.
Okay, because I noticed that I had a freeze on the screen.
Yeah.
Okay, so
all right. Okay, cool.
Oh,
I want to ask you.
Go ahead.
I want to ask you something. I hear you're going to Costa Rica. Tell me about it.
Well, yeah, the CQ Worldwide is coming up, and so myself and 3 other members of the club are going down there to Costa Rica, and we will be operating there as a TI-5 stroke Whiskey 8 Charlie India, WHCI. That's my call. And, you know, we're just looking forward to the contest and having maybe making contacts with our friends here. So it'll be a great event.
Well, that's cool. I hope to try to work you guys when you're down there.
Yeah, you know, I'll be looking for your call, and and I don't want to go so fast that I can't say hi to somebody.
Yeah, we'll get you back on here and give a report about that when you get back. To let us know how it went. Take pictures.
Okay, and I think that I appreciate that, and I really appreciate the opportunity to be on the for you to invite me to come on here and speak to Hamvention and to speak to the rumors, because God knows there's enough rumors that go around. Every year this happens. You know, I will tell you, a few years ago, oh gosh, it's probably 8 or 9 years ago, and I was called by one of the news stations here, and they wanted to interview me right away, and they came to wherever I was working at, and they set up the interview. And that was a time, I think it was a swine flu or one of the big flu epidemics was starting to sweep the world, or they thought so. And they were really kind of, we were getting a lot of criticism that we were going to continue Hamvention in spite of that, and then have people come from all over the world and possibly bring this infection with them. And I just told them, you know, we're amateur radio operators, you know, and we take a slamming and we keep on hamming. You know, that's that's what we do.
Well, okay. Well, great, Michael. Thanks for coming on the show tonight and talking to us about it. And if there's any new developments and you want to get ahead of the media out there, just give me a call and we'll get you on here, okay?
Well, appreciate that, Tom, and myself and the members of DARA, and I think the amateur radio community at large really appreciates the service that you provide. I mean, this is a very unique service anymore, that, you know, we've gotten into a different age of communication, and good, strong, real communication is so important. So thank you, Tom, and I hope to get to talk to you soon. And goodbye to everyone. Goodbye to everyone that tuned in this evening. Thank you.
All right. 73, Michael. We'll talk to you later. Bye-bye. All right. Well, that was Michael Kalter. He is the CFO for DARA, and hopefully he set the record straight on, you know, what the plans are up there. Looks like we're going to be at Hera Arena again this year. Looking forward to it. All you guys, hopefully you'll make it up there. Come by and see us. Would love to meet you in person there. All right, just an announcement real quick. If you would like to, please follow us on Facebook. W5KUB.com is our Facebook group for this webcast. Also, we'd love for you to follow us on Twitter at W5KUB. And we'd love for you guys to help retweet some of our announcements about our shows. And that way it will help us to build up our viewer base there. You know, last week we had some a presentation by Emmett Hohensee from Radio Waves talking about stealth antennas and how to operate with very limited spaces, homeowner association limitations, and things like that. This week we had some videos that were sent in to us that show people actually putting that to practice. So I've got 3 videos here I want to show you very quickly. The first one is from Larry, WD0AKX. Now Larry does a lot of videos and he's always on our show here in the chat room. I don't know if he's in here now or not, but he knows we're going to run this video tonight. Now this is, he went over to his friend's house, NX0P, and they took a 3-foot antenna. I'm talking 3 foot, guys. You know what 3 foot is. And they put that out on a balcony or the patio, and they worked DX on that. So he's going to show us that you can make ham radio work and even DX with very short antenna. So here we go. This is Larry, WD0AKX. Here we go.
Hi, Larry, WD0AKX. First of all, I want to thank all of you for watching my videos. I really appreciate it. And it's all about having fun with ham radio. So today, I visited another good ham radio friend of mine. He was doing some experimenting with an antenna, and I have to show you this. This goes to show you don't need a massive antenna to work DX. So if you have limited space, check this video out. I know you'll enjoy it. Let's take a look.
This is Germany. Delta Juliet 7 Echo Oscar. Marcus in Germany. Give him a try here.
Try work in Germany.
He's 10 over. We should be able to work him pretty easy. A Norway X-ray 0 Papa.
All right.
Hey, thanks. You're 5'9" into Minnesota. The name is Roger. And your number is 006. Over. Nice.
Okay, that was Germany, right?
Germany. On that little antenna. That's crazy.
That's amazing.
Okay, call is NX0P. Name is Junior. And we just worked Germany on this here antenna. This is a ham stick, 20-meter ham stick. Just threw it on a little 10-inch piece of metal and run some ground radios out. Mounted on top of the deck and making some good contacts tonight. Having a good time.
Hi, Larry, WD0AKX. First of all, I want to thank all of you for watching my videos. I really appreciate it. And it's...
Okay, got my mic back on. I didn't have that video set to end when it ended. Okay, well that was Larry. I think you saw how well it worked there. That was he was at NX0P's house, working DX on a 3-foot antenna. My goodness, what do you think about that? Hey, next is a short video here that was made by Julian Frost, N3JF, and with John Amadeo, NN6JA. You guys know John. He's the producer of the ABC TV show Last Man Standing. And you'll see him and Julian in the video here. They went down to Florida to Nancy's house, KK4WCC, and she has some real strict homeowner association rules. So let's look and see what they did down there to make things work for her. So here we go.
Hi, I'm Julian Frost, N3JF, and this is Nancy Bennett, KK4WCT. And we're in Stuart, Florida, where we're trying to get Nancy up on the air on HF. Unfortunately, Nancy lives in a community with incredible antenna restrictions. So we're going to show you how we get a huge antenna in a tiny little attic space and get Nancy up on HF. So follow us. Many of us know John Amadeo, NN6JA, as the producer of ABC's hit comedy Last Man Standing. You may also know that on Last Man Standing, Tim Allen plays Mike Baxter, who has the fictitious call KA0XTT. Tim Allen, the actor, is also a ham in real life, and the show uses real ham gear on the set, all of which is operational, including the antenna farm on the studio roof. John and Nancy have been friends for many years, and when Nancy got her technician ticket and then quickly upgraded to general, John was very happy that she had joined the great ham radio community. As hams, we all want the best antennas possible, but many of us live in antenna-restricted communities, and that was the problem Nancy was now facing. Her community in Stuart, southeastern Florida, is governed by a homeowners association. The streets are clean, the pond is filled with fish and concrete ducks. The lawns are beautifully manicured and are enjoyed by both the residents and the local wildlife. But as is typical with all HOAs, there are restrictions, lots of restrictions. Nancy, KK4WCC, has a nice little station consisting of an Icom IC7100 with a Heil ICM microphone into a Daiwa CN801HP. She made several attempts to get permission from her homeowners association to put up a simple vertical antenna in her backyard. No luck. The homeowners association said no. No antennas of any kind, period. She was stuck. For the Last Man Standing station, John selected a number of Comet antennas for the stage roof. For VHF and UHF, they use GP1 and GP3 dual-band verticals. And for HF, they use an H422 rotatable dipole. John commented that the Comet H422 works well right out of the box. And then he added, let's put a full-size H422 in Nancy's tiny attic. John and I both live on the West Coast, 2,300 miles from Nancy, a minor detail. The real problem was Nancy's attic. It's only 23 feet long and very cramped. The biggest problem, though, was the length of the H422. It's over 33 feet long. John came up with an idea, a cunning plan that could solve the problem. Rather than use the end 40-meter elements, we'd use the equivalent lengths of wire. In that way, we could arrange the wire at whatever angles necessary to fit the antenna in the cramped attic space. To tune the antenna, we knew we'd have to physically cut the aluminum tubing and shorten the sections. We modified the antenna in Los Angeles and shipped it, along with some coax, to Florida, where Daryl, KW4LG, did the initial install. The antenna just fit, with no room to spare. We did it. We got an antenna that's this big into a space this small. Daryl did an initial SWR sweep which showed promise on all of its 4 bands. Although on each band, its resonant frequency was low, the antenna would need tuning. Frequent flyer miles came to the rescue. John and I flew in from the West Coast and met with Nancy and Daryl, and we began a whole day of antenna tuning. We ran 75 feet of new LMR 400 from ABR Industries from the station to the antenna. After trimming the antenna's aluminum tubing and tweaking the lengths of wire at the insulators at both ends, we achieved some pretty respectable readings across the bands. Because the bandwidth was narrow, we added an LDG RT100 remote tuner at the feed point. Thanks to Daryl, Nancy already had an existing Comet dual-band VHF and UHF antenna in the attic for local repeater and D-Star use. John and I spent some time with Nancy showing her how to use all of her new gear. John showed Nancy how she could easily program her IC7100's memories using the programming software from RT Systems. Signals from all around the country were suddenly booming in.
I appreciate you being there. It's late at night.
Almost as soon as we finished, Nancy was on the air, making contact in Europe and beyond. Before we left Florida, Nancy organized an eyeball QSO with members from several local amateur radio clubs. Over sandwiches and icy beverages, John spoke about how, along with Daryl's help, we transformed a once very limited station into one that's a joy to use. Very strong signal. It's receiving like gangbusters. You can hear stations all over the world. The first contact on that radio was Mexico, and the second contact was France. And it was 5-7, maybe. He was 20 over. I mean, the people were coming in yesterday all day long, banging in on 20 and 40 meters. I mean, really, really strong signals.
As for Nancy, she is now happily working the world on HF.
Whiskey Charlie Charlie.
Not bad for an antenna crammed into an attic only 12 feet above the ground. What's more, there are no visible antennas on her house or in her backyard. She has a great station and no CC&R rules were broken. This was just one way to get on the air in an antenna-restricted community. If you find yourself in a similar situation, we encourage you to
Never give up. Never surrender.
Okay, well, sorry about the audio being low there. I play video files in the encoder in Wirecast, and it doesn't give me any option to increase volume of files. If I had played on a different computer tonight, I could probably have adjusted the volume up. So that was kind of neat. Julian and John there went down to Florida and got Nancy working, and it looked like the radio was doing a great job there. She was making a lot of contacts, and man, you can't even tell she's got an antenna up. That's the cool thing. We got one more video here. This is from Tom W5KUB from down in Texas. And it's a good video too. He shows several ways to use some limited antennas and the best way to feed those antennas. So we're going to play Tom right here. I want to make sure that it's edited to turn off at the end. And it is. So here we go. This is Tom W5KUB.
I have talked to many hams that say they can't get on the HF bands because their QTH is in a deed-restricted subdivision. I believe that there's not a QTH that can't have an effective HF antenna. The approach to these antenna problems is to put up whatever you can and put a tuner at the feed point. Technically, the tuner must be an antenna coupler, not a feed line transformer. Many hams will put up a dipole or a long wire and feed it with 50 ohm coax and put a tuner in the shack. This won't work very well because a lot of your power will be lost in the mismatched coax. However, if you put the tuner at the feed point, the transmission line will see 50 ohms on each end and will send 100% of your power to the antenna no matter what it is. The backbone of these stealth antennas is the automatic antenna tuner. The best one is the SGC 230 antenna coupler, which requires 1 amp of 12 volt power and is weatherproof. The LDG Z11 Pro 2 will work well and can be battery operated on AA batteries for many months, but it's not weatherproof. And, of course, there are others that can be used. Since you don't have to be at the tuner to twist the knobs, you can put it anywhere, like the feed point of that hard-to-see wire you've managed to hoist into the air. You can use wire as fine as 22 gauge, but 16 or 14 gauge is best. Here are the basic types of antennas that you can try to fit to your QTH. These antennas should tune all of the amateur bands from 80 to 10 meters. Sometimes you might get lucky and be able to add 6 or 160 meters. It's best to have it not resonant on any ham frequency, which will avoid any extremes of input impedance as you tune through the bands. If your antenna fails to tune on the bands you want, just change the length. Unless you want to spend the big bucks, you'll be limited to 100 watts. Don't be discouraged. The efficiency of the feed line and the auto tuner will give you a signal stronger than most hams tuning an amplifier through a tuner in the shack. And of course, your receive signal will also be better. The first is the easiest, a vertical. You might be lucky and have a nearby tree. It's not critical that the wire be exactly vertical. It can be off by as much as 45 degrees. You can also use a 28-foot jackkite pole. The sections can be glued together with gutter cement and the wire wrapped loosely around the pole to keep it in place. A 3-foot piece of 3/4-inch water pipe can be driven into the ground next to your house to support the jackkite pole. You just pick up the pole and slide it over the pipe. The tuner is placed at the bottom of the pole, and a couple of ground rods and some wire around the foundation will serve as a counterpoise. The more the better. When not in use, you lay the pole along the foundation of your house or a fence where it's out of sight. Since it's not a permanent structure, it's not in the deed restrictions. If the deed Nazis complain, just put it down and, of course, back up when they leave. After a while, you will probably get away with just leaving it up. Also easy is the random wire. Put the tuner under the eave of your house and run a wire anywhere you can. Just get it up as high as possible. For the other half of the antenna, run a wire down to the ground to a ground rod or connect to a wire around the foundation of your house. If you're on the second floor, just run a wire to the foundation and a ground rod. Its length will serve as the other half of the antenna. Another possibility is a loop. Since loops radiate off the sides, make the loop in the vertical plane unless you want to warm the clouds or bother the birds. If it is fed on the bottom, its polarization will be horizontal. If it's fed on the side, it will be vertically oriented. A good size is 40 to 60 feet in circumference. Lastly, the common dipole will work well, but you will need 2 high supports. Since you need the tuner at the feed point, you'll have to put it up in a tree or on a pole. Both sides of the dipole don't have to be the same length, and it could be in the inverted V configuration. Try to make the dipole wire in the vicinity of a half wavelength on the lowest frequency you want to work, but it's not critical. To get power to the tuner, you must use bias tees or batteries. If you use the LDG Z11 Pro 2, you will have to put it in a weatherproof housing. It is important to keep the coax feeding your tuner from becoming part of the antenna. This can be done with a ferrite choke or a coil of coax about 7 to 10 turns, 6 inches in diameter. A spark gap across the feed point to ground is also a good precaution. It can be any gimmick device, even a spark plug, with about 1/10 of an inch gap. I have several radio club friends who have tried these antennas and have had great success with them. These antennas made these hams part of the worldwide HF community. Come on and join them.
Okay, that last video was from Tom W5KUB. And you can check out other videos he has on his website at w5kom.com. Okay, well, that's about all we had for tonight. Hopefully we brought you some good entertainment. Hopefully the discussion with Michael Kalter helps people understand what's going on up at Hamvention. We'll see next week. We may have Emmett Hohensee back on from Work Radio Waves, talking about his antennas and answering questions. But our main guest next week is going to be Paul Ewing, N6PSE. Paul has been to many major DXpeditions, and he is going to share a lot of those DXpeditions with us by pictures and talk to us how some of them are a little different. You know, Paul said if you wanted to join a DXpedition, it was very tough in the past. You had to kind of be in a clique. You had to know people. You had to do certain things. So he basically went on and started a DXpedition of his own. And after that, they formed an organization for DXpeditions. And this way, common, ordinary people, can get to be on those DXpeditions. You don't have to, know Morse code 75 words a minute or have any special skills like that. So that's going to be an interesting discussion with Paul next week. And we'll have Joe back. Now, Joe is going to be out. Joe has got some things he has to do the next couple weeks. He may be back with us in 2 weeks. But I know Joe will be out next week. But Joe's going to be bringing us pictures of some of the recent Hamfest that he went to. And I think he's got some more kits that he'll show us. Okay, Julian, 73 N3JF, thanks for joining the show tonight. Glad to have you in there. It's difficult for me to read the chat room list of people, so I'm not sure who all's in there, but I did see you in there. 73, and maybe we'll see you next week, Julian. All right, it's time now for our hangout, our roundtable part. That's where you can join our show. If you've got a camera and a microphone, we're going to put you on the webcast. We can take up to 10 people at a time. And let's see. Kathy, have you sent the link out? The link, Kathy just sent the link out. Or the link is up at the top in the topic. Up in the topic where it says show starts 8 p.m. Hangout is. So if you click on that link there, you'll be able to join us on Hangout. We can take up to 10 people at one time. So just come in here, sit a while, listen, join us, talk about whatever you want to. So let me see if I can get on Hangout real quick. And I will be right back, so don't go away. And I'll give you a little entertainment here while we're waiting for me to get on Hangout. Well, I'll be right back.
Hello, this is Valerie Hatzfeld, NV9L. You know, there's nothing worse than not being able to go to your favorite Hamfest until W5KUB. They have live streaming, interviews, and tons of prizes. Just make sure you're logged into the chat room so you can win.
Greetings from Auckland, New Zealand. I'm Grant, 01GSM. As part of the international community who watch W5KUB.com, I'd like to thank Tom and his crew for a job well done, especially promoting ham radio not just in America, but throughout the world.
Greetings from Albert Lee, Minnesota. I'm Larry, WD0AKX, and I watch W5KUB.com, and have been for many years. I would like to thank Tom and his crew for doing all the wonderful work they do to promote ham radio worldwide.
Hi. All right. Okay. Well, I'm going to we've got some feedback coming from Jeff. Hey, Jeff, no camera tonight. Let's see if your camera's working. Okay. All right. Well, I was a little surprised. I came to hang out and no one was there. So Jeff saved the day. Jeff is the only one in our roundtable. If anyone would like to join with us, there's only 2 of us in a roundtable. And let me see if I can bring Roundtable into the show here.